Welcome back to the White Gray Black Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. My name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White Gray Black YouTube channel. With me again this week is our favorite duster in disguise, Gautam.
What's up, people?
This week, we're going to do a quick roundup of thoughts around the three new weekly Shonen Jump manga. That's Mama Yu Yu, Kagurabachi, and Two on Ice. And we're going to also include the three newest Jump Plus titles. That's Rugby Rumble, Magical Girl Tsubame, and Witch Enforcer. And at the end there, we're going to hit on Ranger Reject Chapter 114 because things are heating up and mysteries are unraveling. All right, let's jump right into the Shueisha recap, we'll call it. These are the three newest Weekly Shonen Jump manga on the left here, and the three newest Jump Plus manga, at least in the United States, I guess you could also say in the West here. That is... So from left to right here, I listed them, but I'll list them again. We have Kagurabachi, Two on Ice, Mama Yu Yu, and then from the Jump Plus series, we have Rugby Rumble, Witch Enforcer, and Magical Girl Tsubame. Let's start... Where should we start? Let's start with Mama Yu Yu. I think that is the first one that was published out of all these sequentially. I am up to date on this. I think we just had, I want to say the 7th chapter was published on Sunday. Gautam, are you up to date on Mama Yu Yu? How are you feeling about it? Talk to me.
I am up to date. And I really like it. I think it's great. I just think it does. Yeah, I don't think it has done anything unconventional. It's been pretty conventional, but the paneling is very charming. I think the characters are already pretty interesting to me. I like the protagonist. I like Corleo. Mm-hmm. And it's taking its time. Everything is working for me. I think it's good so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing it when it's actually kicked off.
Yeah, I think you kind of unintentionally hit on maybe my very minor issues with it. I do like Mama Yu Yu a lot. I think the story is interesting. I think it is a cool, neat take on sort of modern fantasy. It feels, and I want to say this in the most complimentary way I can, it feels like budget Full Metal Alchemist to me. Does that ring true, you think? It's got this sort of like...
I would agree. Yeah, it has the same aesthetic, right?
It has a lot of the same aesthetic where it's sort of that kind of early 20th century kind of modern... What is the... Postmodern? Pre-modern? It's got that sort of 1940s, 50s kind of like, there's kind of a World War II military-esque angle to it. There's kind of peace after a war, which feels, I guess, post-war maybe is what I'm looking for, that kind of immediate post-war feeling.
It's an era where people can wear bowler hats. Yeah.
Exactly, right? People wear bowler hats and can walk with a cane, and that's just a fancy dude, and it's normal.
Right.
But that's just kind of the setting. It has kind of the magic angle. I do like the protagonist. I hope that he gets a little more... I want to give him a little more competency, maybe, like a little more skill with his powers before I really am like, yeah, he's cool. I haven't seen a whole lot of growth in him yet, I guess I would say, in 7 chapters. A little bit. But a lot of things have just been sort of happening to him. And he hasn't done too much to affect the world around him. That's maybe my issue with it. But again, I do like
think we're establishing that pretty slowly. But I see what you mean. And one of my worries is that it's taking its time with everything. And yep. I don't know if people have the patience for that. Yeah, I do, but I don't know if...
That's exactly the next point I was going to make, is that I do appreciate that it is taking its time. I think that is, in general, better storytelling. I don't know if that necessarily sells you more volume 1s of your manga, which is kind of how you survive in Weekly Shonen Jump. So that would also be my worry. I hope this makes it. I think this one and Kagurabachi are both two of the better new things we've gotten that are kind of straight across the plate, just kind of shonen battle, just kind of action battle adventure shonen. Like that's just what those two are, and they're both pretty good. But yeah, I like it. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little worried about it. How do you feel about its chances of surviving the axe?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't think there are great chances here. I'd love to be proven wrong because I like it, but we're doing kind of a hero, demon lord, isekai genre, a spin on it, except it's nuanced. It's nuanced and it's taking its time, which is not familiar to the isekai target audience in any way. Also, the main character, Corleo, is not a self-insert. He is like a kid figuring stuff out with insecurity, so he's his own character. It's doing a spin on the isekai format, except it's doing everything. It's like pitching to adults or pitching to people who don't like the genre. It's like pitching to the sign-in audience. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it.
It's missing the one sort of, I don't want to say the one key isekai plot thing, but this is not a self-insert power fantasy, which is which is almost synonymous with isekai in my mind, right? Like, it is not all isekai, obviously, but the majority of isekai and people who like or enjoy isekai, they like that sort of self-insert power fantasy. I am the two-sword black swordsman Kirito. He's a hidden badass. The shield dude or whatever, right? Like all these isekais. As far
it's all power fantasy,
yeah, they're power fantasies. This one is not fulfilling that power fantasy thing. I don't think isekai fans would like this, even though it does. You're right, it does have that isekai angle, but I'm not sure. This one to me is, I like this, and I think this is better. But this is reminding me of, oh gosh, why am I forgetting it? What's the Ginka and Luna? It is a little bit of that, where it's like it's really good at a couple of things, and it might not be good enough at some of the other things that it needs to survive long term in Shonen Jump. But I hope it does.
I think it has the reverse problem, right? Where it's a little
kind of
too slow
it's going
right
too
now.
slow instead of too fast. Yeah. But it's both of those are pacing problems, I guess you could say. Maybe that's why it reminds me of it, where it's like I think it's good, like the way I thought Ginka and Luna had really good characters and really good art. I think this has really good paneling and really good storytelling and also really good characters. But that's
in my opinion, and I don't know how to describe this in a way that makes sense, but in my opinion, is the only manga on this list that has that special little factor, that undescribable factor that makes it, I think, magical. That makes it just like good, something I like. I feel like the love coming off the page when I read this. When I read this work, the author is clearly very invested.
I definitely agree. It has something special about it that a lot of other manga don't seem to have. Even some good manga, right?
Yeah. And I felt this way about Ginka and Luna, but it's another reason to worry, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really don't want to see this die either way.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious if this does die. This author hopefully gets better from publishing this, and maybe the next thing they come back with is their real big hit. Because I do think this person has a lot, especially in the paneling department. I think this person is really, really, really talented.
I don't even want to start. Like, I hope this does well, so we don't even have to start thinking about that.
Yeah,
I hope this is successful. This is a cool idea.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I would rather watch them develop this idea, but there's always the unfortunate looming axe of Weekly Shonen Jump.
I know. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so let's go publication order. Next up would be Kagurabachi. This is by Takaru Hokuzono.
Why don't you start on this one? What do you think about Kagurabachi?
Kagurabachi is pretty straight across the plate. Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Bleach. This is that. I think it is good enough. I think it is good. I think it is enjoyable. I think it is easy, would be the best thing I can say. All of that sort of depth and nuance and stuff that we saw in Mama Yu Yu, I don't think this has much of that. I think it's not necessarily like...
But it's not trying to, right? Yeah.
It's not. It's not like the dumbest manga I've ever read. I'm not trying to insult it like that. This is just straightforward magic sword action battle shonen. I like the main character. I like his sort of dry humor. The side characters I have liked so far. Only 6 chapters in, but this is, I don't know, this is just one of those sort of like easy read action things that's good. I think the action paneling is good. I think the art is good. This one I'm pretty sure has been the most popular of the new things. being published. I think this one is here to stay, at least for a little bit, unless it massively falls off in readership and sales upcoming. I don't know. It's hard to say a lot about this because it isn't doing a whole lot other than I think it has really good action, and I think it's very simple and straightforward, and I think it's good. I don't think it's bad at all.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you there because I think normally I'd like Kagurabachi more, but like Mama Yu Yu is like a rich coffee. It's like a deep roast. It's deep, but not for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like a light beer. It's fun, but it's empty calories. I feel like that's what Kagurabachi is going for. It's just going for the fun, edgy story about this dude who cuts people up.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like I said, it's just a straight across the plate battle shonen magic swords. Like there's not like it is definitely it's
and
done.
If I was in the mood for it, I would be enjoying it. But at the moment, I'm just I don't feel like reading.
I don't know. To me, it's one of these things where like I wake up on Sunday morning, I'm reading all the manga, I click on this one, and it doesn't bother me at all to read it. Some things I click on.
It's easy,
exactly. It goes down easy. Super it's just super light to consume. It strikes me kind of as something like Sakamoto Days to me has never been a particularly difficult to consume manga once I caught up on it because it's just like it's just fun and normal, and it's just fun in the way that it's like it's not asking a whole lot of you. It is just being a fun action battle shonen. I think Kagurabachi is much the same. I think this one's probably here to stay. I do think it's got some interesting stuff going on. We'll see about the mysteries. I like the idea of just like hyper powerful magical swords, and whoever has them is a powerful person. It's
it's like when we read Nausicaa, right? We had to dissect that thing for themes because it was so nuanced. And that takes effort. But Kagurabachi is just a fun read. You don't have to look for that.
I could read like 500 chapters of Kagurabachi in the time that it took me to read 70 chapters of Nausicaa. Of Nausicaa 65, whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good for its target audience, and it's fun, right? Like I like that the mangaka makes it not so edgy. Like there's enough side characters to make this thing a fun ride.
Is right. It's right on that same line. Like I mentioned at the start, it's right on that same line as like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, where it's like, is there violence? Yes. Is it intense? Yes. But is it like super intense or hyper violent or no? It's like right on that line where if you're 14, this is cool, right? Like this is the thing. I think this is going to be some people's. This is going to be some people's Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Bleach, whatever you want to call it. This is going to get people into anime in 3 or 4 years when it gets an anime. This will be the sort of like, oh, this is a well-animated, cool action sword thing. And 14-year-old boys are going to love it, and it's going to get them into anime. So that's exactly the kind of thing that Kagurabachi is. I don't think it's bad.
It's a fun start. Yeah, it's a fun start, too. Yeah. Like, I don't, like... It's reminiscent of how much fun I found Bleach to be when I started that too.
Yeah, very similar vibes, very similar setting type things in there. So yeah. Next up on the list,
we don't even need to speculate on that one, huh? Because it's a guaranteed success, I'm sure.
I think so. Yeah,
the
readership in the West has been like massive. Like it's like number 2, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks on Jump Plus, like behind only One Piece. It is beating like Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff. So. Even if the Japanese readership and purchasing of Volume 1 is half of what it is in the West, it's still pretty massive. So
good,
cool. Last thing for Weekly Shonen Jump is 2 on Ice by Elk Itsumo. It's a no from me, dog. I guess that's what I gotta say.
Honestly, I can't even speak on it. I haven't read chapter 2. That first chapter was so dull.
Yeah,
it was so not for me that I forgot to even click on chapter 2.
Yeah, it's not bad. This is I'll start with
this. Did it get better?
I'll start with this. This is far, far, far from the worst thing that Weekly Shonen Jump has tried to publish in the last 2 years. This is significantly better than Ichigoki Under Control. This is way better than stuff like Do Retry. This is not bad. It's just boring. And it's, I don't know. It feels amateur in a way that I can tell that this author is kind of trying to go for these kind of big sweeping emotional things
Hmm.
without really doing the legwork to earn them, which I think I see in a lot of newer authors. You go, oh man, it was so cool when, the person had to choose X, Y, and Z over this other thing. And they don't realize that it's like, well, that was cool because the author had spent, 50 chapters, teasing that and setting that up and informing the characters and just kind of going for it. I mean, this is, I think, only 4 or 5 chapters in. Essentially, I'll catch you up. Chapter 1 happens. They skate together, they compete together, they like both fall at the same time. And then there's this whole backstory with the girl of like, she skated with this guy who was like Olympic level, and it's like, and this is maybe the part that I don't even really get. It like really tried to drive home this like, oh, you're a girl, so you'll never be a good skater because guys are stronger and guys can spin 4 times, and a girl will never
Dude,
spin 4 times.
this is Zoro's backstory. Oh no.
Yeah, well, and it's also like, bro, like men and women don't compete directly in ice skating. Like
Yeah, what
there's
the
a reason
fuck are
for
you
it.
on about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like exactly. Like, but there's this like her whole backstory in like the last 2 chapters ever has been like, oh, and I realized I would like never be as good as this guy that I looked up to, and so now I had to like settle for doing. I have to like settle for doing the duos or whatever. But then also she's like looking at the main character guy and is like, but you're that good too, and you're a boy, so you need to go try and do singles before you can skate with me, because if you don't try to do singles, I don't know. It's just
What
it's
the
very
fuck? Okay.
clumsy.
That's odd. Okay.
Yeah,
Why pick
it's
ice skating? That's the most gender neutral. Your dreams
yeah.
can't be dashed from by being a woman in ice skating because there's so much you could do in that sport.
Yeah, well,
It's
and
yeah.
female ice skating is like way bigger than male ice skating. Like no
That's
one
crazy.
really like, especially singles, right? Like no, it. I don't want to say no one cares that guys can spin 4 times and girls can only spin 3 because they're weaker or whatever. But like female figure skating is like massively bigger than male figure skating, right? Like, am I crazy in saying that?
I don't know. I don't know what the viewership is, but I think you're right.
I just yeah,
It's
I
still
just
a
feel
bizarre
like
thing. It's a bizarre plot point
it's
for
weird. Yeah,
for
and
ice skating in particular. I think.
yeah, and so it's like I said, I don't want to beat this up too much because this is, like I said, this is far from the worst thing. I honestly think that this block of Mama Yu Yu Kagura Bachi and Two on Ice is one of the overall strongest groupings of release blocks that Jump has had in the sort of 2.5 years that I've been really seriously paying attention to their new releases. Like, usually when they do a group of 3 or 4 releases, there's just one absolute stinker. I don't think this group has an absolute stinker, even though Two on Ice I think is a little
Boring.
amateur and a little boring and not perfect. It's way better than a lot of the stuff we've got in the past. I mean, like I mentioned, it's way better. I would rather read this than Dororon. I'd rather read this than Do Retry. I'd rather read this than Ichigoki Under Control. I'm trying to think of the other bad things. Those are the ones that stand out as sort of like, this is just not good.
I think it exists in a hard spot. I don't see it making it, by the way. I think it
Yeah.
exists in a hard spot because Blue Box exists and does everything it's trying to do better.
Yeah, that's true.
From
And
what it
Blue
sounds,
Box-
I like I said, I've only read chapter 1, but Blue Box chapter 1 was way stronger in every way.
Yeah, and the Blue Box one shot is amazing, and Blue Box has an anime coming up. I will say the one thing that might save Two on Ice is
Yeah.
in January, I think, is when the Medalist anime starts airing. And if you want to go read a really good manga about ice skating, Medalist is fantastic. It maybe it's been a couple months since I mentioned it, but yeah, Medalist is amazing, and hopefully the anime does it justice because that story is impactful and well drawn and earns all of its moments, and is about the girl doesn't care that she's not as strong as a boy. The girls and boys interact. I don't know. It's much better than Two on Ice. It's very hard to have a. It's very hard to be a manga reader and be like, yes, I would like to read an ice skating manga. And if given the choice, like 9 dentists out of 10 will choose Medalist because it's just way better.
I think that just means Medalist is going to put the nail in the coffin, right? Because even before Medalist, it's like you just compare it. You just compare other stuff to Medalist. Dogs Red is already really good. And what was that thing that was Yuri on Ice? People are going to compare it to that too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Blades of Glory.
I don't have high hopes for this one. It's not bad. I wouldn't fault anyone for liking it. I also wouldn't fault anyone for not liking it. Like I said, it's just kind of, it's like a 4 or 5 out of 10, and it's a little boring and it's a little amateur. I don't think this author is a hack or anything. They have potential, and I do think some of the performance action shots of the two skating, I think, are pretty good. So, this author, like I said, this is far, far, far from the worst thing I've ever read from Jump. So yeah, I think that's it for the Weekly Shonen Jump. The 3 new releases there. So let's move on to Jump Plus. Let's see. The first of these I think that was published is Magical Girl Tsubame. That's the first one I read. Gautam?
It's funny. My top 3 on this list of 6 is only one of them was on the left side. The ones we already discussed, which was Mama Yu Yu. That's my favorite of the 6. But the other 2 are on the right side. Which one were we talking about? Are we talking about Magical Girl Tsubame?
Let's talk about Magical Girl Tsubame. Yeah. So this is by Mapolo 3,
this is
Mapolo 5. What's the number?
I liked it.
Yeah. How many chapters have you read? I think there's 3 chapters of this out. Have you read all
2.
3 of them?
I read 2. Yeah.
I think I've read all 3. This is weird.
Yeah. I like it. It's weird. It reminds me, and I think it's supposed to remind all of us of Madoka.
Almost too much, I would say, is one of my complaints about it. Is this feels borderline derivative of Madoka Magica in my mind. Like, it isn't even like, you're right, that it's not really hiding that it's kind of like almost more than directly influenced. It's like, oh, the like art style of the hearts in the sky in this world is like very similar to the stuff in the anime Madoka Magica. So
it's interesting because Madoka is supposed to be like a deconstruction of the magical girl genre. It's not supposed to be the norm of the magical girl genre. It's a dark spin on it, and it was so successful and interesting that I guess it is just the norm now. You know, that's the iteration now in the magical girl genre. It's what it feels like. Yeah, in a way.
I mean, it's strange because. And Magical Girl Tsubame is interesting because you don't see a lot of Magical Girl shonen, right? Most Magical Girl stuff is published in magazines aimed at younger demographic of girls. It's really like Magical Girl Tsubame. Shy is technically which got an anime this season. Yeah. Shy is a Magical Girl. It's almost more superhero-y, I guess, than Magical Girl. I don't know. That one's maybe kind of borderline.
Shy is like a codename Kids Next Door. It really is. It really. Oh, you never seen that show? No. Okay, never mind. Other people will get that. Okay. But yeah, either way, in regards to the art style, I didn't see many comments on this, but they made it like the Maguka art style. You know, like the shitty animation in Madoka Magica where people like misspell her name, call her Maguka.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
The whole art style is that wonky Madoka animation. It's like
the whole art style is this. I cannot get over.
Can you type in Maguka real quick? MGU like KA. It looks just like that, intentionally so. And I'm positive.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, where it's like the low res Madoka
eyes far apart. Yeah.
Well, exactly. The eyes far apart thing. I have watched Clannad. I think that is an amazing anime. I understand their eyes are a little bit farther apart than normal than today's modern stuff. I have never seen characters with eyes so far apart as in Magical Girl Tsubame. The art, this girl's eyes are like you could fit like 3 eyes between her 2 eyes. It's insane.
She reminds me of Froppy. She looks more like a frog than Froppy does, actually. Yeah. It's weird art style, but it fits because the manga is very weird. Tsubame herself is kind of a shithead girl who I guess is living in the moment.
Very selfish is how I would describe her. Yeah,
exactly. She has like a lot of trauma and baggage which isn't being addressed, but that's classic for a Madoka-esque. Yeah, that's her friend looks like a little monster.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, the main character looks a little weird, her eyes are far apart, and then they introduce her friends, and you're like, wait a minute, those eyes are really far apart.
I think it fits the story being fucked up and weird.
A little weird. Well, and everything in this world is a little off, right? It's like, oh, they're going to normal school, they're normal Japanese, high school, middle school girls, whatever it is. But then it's like, oh, but the sky is filled with hearts, and sometimes laser beams shoot down and just fucking kill people.
Yeah, so exactly.
It definitely kind of leans into the like, it's normal, but once this, some stuff is a little bit off. But yeah, this is interesting so far. I
don't know how I feel about it, but I'd say it's in my top 3 of all of these.
It's got my interest maybe more than anything else because I want to see where it goes. I don't necessarily think it's the strongest in any particular angle, but I do think it is kind of the weirdest, and it's one of those things that I think because it feels so influenced by Madoka Magica that
it's like we've already seen it before, right?
Well, yeah, which I've seen. I have not seen the movies, but I've seen the anime to completion this season. And because I know that goes really interesting places with its characters and how they relate and how that sort of ties into the drastic negative events that happen, the sort of catastrophic events that happen in Madoka. I'm interested if this is going to have a similar type of mystery, a similar type of reveal, similar type of character interactions. If it does, and if it can hit those successfully, I think this is going to be really good and really maybe not fun to read, because Madoka's not really fun by the time you get to the end, but it is interesting. And it is enjoyable in a sort of in an interesting way.
I think at the very least, it seems like the author understands what made Madoka good, which is high school girls with personal issues making a deal with the devil and letting them spiral out of control in a major way. That's what it feels like here. Right?
And not realizing that, like, if you fuck up, now that you're a magical girl, it's very bad.
Yeah.
It's very bad. And you didn't know that when you was signed up for this. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you need therapy, don't ever become a magical girl. Go to therapy first. Then become a magical girl.
Yeah. One of the best. Does he even count as an antagonist? I guess he is.
He's an antagonist.
Minor Madoka Magica spoilers. I think you know that pretty early. Like by episode 3. I mean, yeah. Most people know the twist by the first 2 or 3 episodes of Madoka, but yeah. Check it out.
I think it's impossible not to know the twist when you just see that thing's design, right? His eyes glow red.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a long time since I've seen Madoka Magica, because I watched it like sort of when it was airing, or maybe right after it finished. So like 20.
It was good shit. That was shocked. Yeah.
But yeah. But that's Magical Girl Tsubame by Mapolo 3. Interesting. I definitely got my eye on it. Let's see, Gautam, did you get to read the new one today? What is it called? Witch Enforcer by Shun Akagi. Did you get around to reading this one, Gautam?
Is the one on the list I haven't read.
Okay.
So tell me about it.
Yeah, I read this one. I'll tell you about it. This was not great. It wasn't awful, but very typical, super boring main character. This packed, there's way too many ideas in this world. It starts off with like a boy, and he's been attacked by a witch, and this other witch comes to him and is like, oh, swear to me and you'll be fine and I'll help you. The witches are from the moon. The witches live in a perfect society. The witches are from the moon.
Okay. I don't know why that was so startling, but yeah, okay.
The boy also literally has the like Chunibyo single magic eye that lets him see magic things. The number of ideas packed into this is like way too many things, and half of them don't need to be there, right? There's like a bad witch who mind controls kids and puts them in a circus, and there's like a little bit of action combat, and the good witch that's like on the guy's team she's a witch enforcer is with the title of the manga. She's from the moon and is on Earth because any witches that go from the moon to Earth, if they go rogue or go bad, she's one of the people responsible that the humans can go and ask, hey, can you help us take down this witch? This has the same idea that's in another series that I'll talk about in a second, where the boy needs to find the original witch who cursed him in order to get rid of the curse, which is something that is literally straight out of Witch and the Beast, which I've talked about in the past, which is far, far, far superior to this. And I would very much suggest that instead of reading Witch Enforcer, which you can go read, and certainly give it a try, see if you like it, but I would suggest you go try and track down and read The Witch and the Beast, which is an excellent, excellent series. Not on Jump Plus or Manga Plus. Unfortunately, I believe that's published might be a Kodansha thing. I don't remember. Go read that. That's just like a better this is just like a worse version of The Witch and the Beast in like every imaginable way, and with a lot of the same themes.
I don't like that they're from the moon. I think that's silly.
It like shows their society. It's like, oh, we literally live in a perfect society on the moon, and we're witches and have magic. But that gets boring. So sometimes we'll come to Earth, and then we live forever, and we go crazy.
The moon would suck. Why would you live on the moon, you crazy people?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, like, so the first like antagonist in the first chapter here, like, came down from the moon like 60 years ago, fell in love with this dude, like, no lie, fell in love with a clown at the circus. And then he gets old and dies and leaves her the circus. And so she then is like, no, we're not changing the circus. Nothing is going to change. And everyone leaves and it shuts down. And then she, captures kids and puts them in the circus to make them have fun. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This is not very good. This is,
that sounds
of
bizarre.
Everything on this list, this is the one thing I would just say, just skip it. I don't think this is worth your time.
The clown circus part kind of sounds fun, but yeah, okay. I don't think
it's just kind of boring and amateur. The art in it's okay. It isn't super dynamic. It feels very, I don't even know how to describe it. Have you noticed there's like this modern style of manga where a lot of things, not everything, but a lot of these sort of manga, there's like a manga plus style almost where a lot of these things look really similar. Luckily,
this
the three new
one
ones
feels
don't.
generic, right?
It feels it feels like it has a generic style.
I know. Like if we look at all 6 of these pictures, I feel that way only about the witch one.
Yes, exactly. I think that there's a little bit of that. I think creeping into 2 on Ice, but it's a lot better than Witch Enforcer for sure.
Yeah, even 2 on Ice feels pretty unique to me.
It doesn't. It doesn't have that same sort of generic modern. And I would say that this is just a style that I've seen kind of emerging in the last maybe like 2 or 3 years. But there's this kind of look of this like, oh, this is a generic modern kind of maybe. I think it has something to do with the digital drawing applications that are more and more popular. And I think there's more and more artists who are young who have maybe not only drawn on these, but have primarily been digital artists that maybe informs that style. I don't know. I'd have to do a little bit more research to figure out what this style is and why it looks like this. But this one has that style. It feels generic. I don't think I like anything about this.
It looks like every light novel cover.
Yes,
that's what it is.
That is.
It looks like
that is kind of what it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
let's move on to the rugby one next.
Yeah, let's move on to the rugby one. This one is a lot of fun. I actually really like this. This is Rugby Rumble by Daisuke Miyata. Gautam, you just got through, I think, chapter 1 of this, right?
Yeah, I only got to read chapter 1 before we recorded this. But I'm interested in reading more. I actually very much enjoyed this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, I've read. Yeah, there's 4 chapters of this out. I've read all 4. I think this reminds me of. It reminds me of Dog's Red, and it reminds me of iShield 21.
Me too.
It has those vibes. Yeah, it's
very
essentially those two mashed up in rugby, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very much Dog's Red in regards to the incredibly proficient but unreasonable and main character who doesn't know the sport, of course. I like the main character a lot. He's chaotic, as he himself would say, and he's a total moron who is just gifted physically by something. He's like a superhuman.
For comparison, the 2 people on the cover you're looking at here, and this Rugby Rumble is the one with the guy with the rugby ball on it, I guess, obviously. The guy in the red shirt on front is 15, and the guy behind him in the back is 17. And he's like a foot taller and like the strongest dude ever. But I didn't mention it. This is one of those things where it's like, I love the main character of this one. He is, you and I constantly profess our love for idiot savants type characters where they are just dumb as rocks, but they're really good at something. And that's what this character is.
It 100%. And I appreciate that. I appreciate he's just a moron who is just immensely gifted and simple. And he's doing his thing. I also like the rival character, which is why, like the other guy in the back shot.
His potential future teammate. Yeah,
he's funny. He's goofy. and I like his motivation. I think he's more complex than
He's
I
more,
would have thought.
I appreciate that he is more serious, but also has a goofy side to him. I also really like there's a girl who's the childhood friend of the other guy. She's also really goofy, and something I really like about her, we talk about these sort of the kind of three-sided character, which is, oh god, I'm gonna forget what they are, which is like being a pro tag, right? Going out and doing things is one of the sort of keys of that. And then being sympathetic and being proficient, right? So you like them, they're good at something, and they go and do things. And the varying levels of these give us a good character or a good main character. The main girl here goes and does things. She wants this guy on the team. She goes after him. She talks to him. She brings him to the field. She wants to push her friend to be better and to get back into playing rugby. And that's just like, you like her because of that. Like, and that's a thing that something we mentioned on Mama Yu Yu is that I don't see the main character going out and necessarily affecting the world around him much. That's being low on that sort of pro tag score. And I think that all of these characters are pretty high on that, especially the main character and the main girl are both going out and getting what they want. This main guy like goes up on stage and is like, somebody fucking fight me right now. And his grandma comes up and puts him in a chokehold. That's hilarious.
I love it. That was such a good straw. And the principal is like panicking. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Very good. Also, there was a really good gag in that first chapter where like the one guy who looks like a delinquent like pipes up and he's like, "Hey, fuck you, buddy.
Y'all fight you."
And everyone's like, "He just looks like a delinquent."
He's like, "Yeah, he's not. He's a nice guy."
Man. This is spiraling out of control. Yeah.
This one is really funny. The action is really good. You haven't seen it because I think it's in chapter 2 or 3. Really, some really funny, interesting side characters. The action and the sports action in this really, really reminds me of iShield 21. You'll see that, I think, if you keep reading it. A guy shows up. I think you see the guy who tackled and hurt the sort of secondary protagonist shows up again to play rugby against them, and they call him like, they're like, oh, he's like the best tackler on this like dream team, right? And they call his tackle like the tiger bite or something. And so every time he tackles somebody, there's this cool panel drawn of like a tiger attacking. He gets like pinned down and it shows like the tiger on top of him. It's very, very cool stuff. I really like this one. I'm happy that I picked this up, that I saw that it was new, because I don't think I would touch this normally. Sports anime, whatever. But I really like this. I think you should keep reading this, Gautam, because I think you're going to keep liking
I plan to. I thought it was maybe one of the stronger starts to a sports anime. I thought it's kind of crazy. Like this list of 6, I think I would put this in Mama Yu Yu in terms of my personal enjoyment so far ahead of everything else. I can't speak for the which one.
I would think, and I mean, these all have sort of similar amounts of chapters. I honestly think that, I think Rugby Rumble might be the best thing on this page, in my opinion. I like Mama Yu Yu. I still find that it has a couple of issues. I think Rugby Rumble is just like good across the board. Like, I don't see any issues with it, except for maybe you don't like rugby, but that's a you problem, not a manga problem, in my opinion. Like, I think it's good action. I like its characters. I think its art is great.
I think you're simply right.
Yeah. Like, I mean, your experience may differ. Your results may vary, but like, yeah, I honestly legitimately think that Rugby Rumble might be the best thing out of these 6. I don't think it'll be the most popular, but it's really good, really solid. A lot of fun. Just like, again, one of those, like, doesn't take a whole lot of effort or energy. It's just fun, but it's doing a good job of laying good character groundwork, good art. It's got like everything going for it. So I really like this.
I would be remiss not to mention this in regards to Mama Yu Yu, is that Corlea's lack of proactivity is intentional by the author, because he's not a conventional hero. He hasn't had to do anything his whole life. A peacetime hero, if you will. So he's learning the proactivity, which is his character arc. With that said, I don't know if that's good reading for other people. For me, it is. I don't know if that will keep
and
people
it's a difficult, and this is sort of a general sweeping statement. It's a difficult line to tread to make your character non-proactive, but proactive enough to not be boring or annoying, right?
Yeah, because he's learning it now. And that means initially he is weak and unable to do anything without anyone's help. Yes. And that doesn't make for a character the audience likes. Right. So we'll just have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see on that. I definitely think If I'm picking one from each here, I honestly think I like Mama Yu Yu. I'm worried about it. I feel like it's gotten a little worse the last 2 weeks, maybe. I'm curious to see what happens on Sunday. I'm kind of week to week basis on it of like, is this going in a good direction or a bad direction?
That's the opposite for me. I think it's
you think it's
finally
getting
gotten
better?
interesting. I thought the middle part was a little boring.
Maybe the sort of middle chapters. Yeah, I'm very week to week on it. I think Kagurabachi is just straight across solid. I think Rugby Rumble is
Would you say those are your top two? Kagurabachi and Rugby?
Yeah, and I think Mama Yu Yu is a real close third. Like, literally depending on the chapters of the week, they could swap with Kagurabachi at any point.
I think the fact that we can have different opinions is kind of magical because usually there are such clear winners and stinkers from these lists, these shonen release lists, that we share the same opinion.
Yeah.
But I think there are enough potentially good things here that we can actually divide our opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom two are
thing.
pretty clear. Like, you didn't read Witch Enforcer, but Witch Enforcer here is the worst thing on this list. I just don't think it did anything good enough. Just not good. Two on Ice, again, is sort of like, it has some appealing things. I do not think it is interesting or good enough to survive. Everything above that, though, is kind of a toss-up. Like you mentioned, Magical Girl Tsubame is good and interesting. It has maybe the least number of chapters of the top 4 here. So it has kind of more potential to grow or to be more interesting. I think in 2 or 3 chapters, maybe it's at the top because I like it enough that certainly if it goes to an interesting place or mixes stuff up or, that does something more right, it could jump up in the rankings. So I think all of the top 4.
It has to do something different than Madoka because otherwise it'll live in Madoka's shadow and it won't.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah, reading it now, it's very much just sort of like, okay, well, I've seen Madoka Magica. It's excellent. This is very derivative of it, so it does need to separate itself a little bit, which it's kind of doing. It's kind of establishing more of a, like maybe a military or organizational thing that created the other Magical Girl. I think that's chapter 3. Maybe I haven't read that yet, but we'll see.
The author gets Madoka, so I have a good feeling that this will be interesting. But we'll just have to see.
But very surprised by Rugby Rumble. I think that's my top. I think Kagurabachi's second. For you, you're saying what? Mama Yu Yu on top, Rugby second?
Mama Yu Yu on top, and Rugby Rumble second.
Cool. That's our little roundup of the newest Shueisha Weekly Shonen Jump and Jump Plus titles. Have you guys read any of these? If you have, get in the comments. Tell us which ones you like. Did I miss any of these? A lot of stuff shows up that sometimes I miss, especially on Jump Plus. I know I didn't miss any Weekly Shonen Jump stuff, but if something on Jump Plus popped up that you think in the last, 8 weeks or so, that's particularly good.
Give us your top 3. Give us your top 3 of these 6.
Yeah. Give them all a read. And definitely, I think, go and read Rugby Rumble. Even if you're not into sports stuff, I think it's a lot of fun. So
I want to see if people like Mama Yu Yu as much as I like Mama Yu Yu. Or if this is going to be a Ginka Luna situation all over again.
I think it's a little bit more well-liked than Ginka and Luna. Yeah. I think Ginka and Luna lost a lot of people on, like, Chapter 2. This I think, is a little bit more... I think people like it a little bit more than that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cool. Let's talk about a Kodansha manga, a little bit more long-running and well-established. It's 114 chapters. Ranger Reject. Boy, I think we talked about this pretty recently because this whole arc, so the last 6 months, have just been this 3-way battle thing. And, man, it just keeps getting more and more interesting. Introducing new twists, answering questions.
Is that cover a reference to something? That's a great cover page, by the way. Is that a reference to something?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let us know in the comments if it is, because I don't know if it's supposed to represent or reference like a piece of art, but it looks sick as hell.
It's good. Negi Haruba's an amazing artist. I love his art. I love his composition. This is chapter 114.
Insane eyes.
Yeah, 3-way battle part 18. I like that. Mm-hmm. I like when some things like One Piece, every single chapter has its own title and it, informs you what it's about a little bit. I am 100% behind and I do not mind. Hey, you're writing a big arc. It's just 3-way battle part 18. Get over it. That's the title of the chapter. but we've got Hisui from Green. What are they called? Green Group, Green Battalion. Battalion, right?
Squadron? Yeah, it's squad or battalion. I forgot which.
Yeah, she's looking around here. She's in, I think, the office of the main bad guy. Well, I'll just get right into the big interesting stuff here. She sees a picture here of Yakushi Usakubo, right? Who is Usakubo's dad, who's kind of the big bad guy. He consumed whatever weird injection turned him into a big evil guy. Has a picture here with a weird thing. And Hisui notes like, what's that beside him? He says, it's not one of the 12 executives. Whatever. So what is this? I have my theory. Gautam, do you have a theory on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Might be the one we talked about offline, but
I thought of the theory just now, so mine's less developed. So I'll say mine first. You tell me what you think. I think it's probably one of the villains that the original Rangers fought. One of the invaders the original Rangers fought. Because if it's not one of the 12 execs, and the current Rangers can't recognize this invader, I have to assume it's one of the past villains that this guy is a fanboy of.
I think I think my theory can coexist with yours. Because I think that this is Usakubo, the daughter, the girl that we know from Green Battalion, is noted to be half human and half executive, I believe, or at least half invader. Half invader at very least. So I'm pretty sure that's her mom in the picture. Like, that's my guess.
Yeah, 100% it's her mom.
I think that's a fairly safe prediction. I think you've hit on something interesting though, because we are getting a lot of hints, especially from Usakubo dad, that he keeps referencing and seems aware of these like past Rangers, like you were noting, and how I'm trying to think of. He keeps mentioning how things are like different and wrong with the current Rangers that don't line up with the original, but everyone else in the world seems to believe that the originals were just a TV show. Am I getting that right?
I think you're right, but I don't remember exactly.
There's a lot going on in this.
There's a DVD box set that he owns and cherishes.
Yes, that he watches.
So I think you're right.
But I think that occurred. Well, so I guess we can go into a little bit more theorization and postulation here. Those DVDs are from before what the majority of people and what the story has told us was the actual invader arrival.
Correct.
What I'm guessing is that the actual invader arrival was not really when they first arrived. My wild prediction here, based on some evidence that I think is inside the story, especially the last 18 chapters, is that the invaders show up early. They probably aren't, quote-unquote, invaders, right? They're just some alien species. They come in. There is some connection with these aliens or other dimensional beings or whatever they are showing up, and we don't even really have a name for like the power people. Like, what's her name? The people who they end up turning into the divine weapons, right? The divine tools.
Blood of the Dragons.
Yeah,
something or the other.
Something like that.
The last descendant with the Blood of the Dragons that they used to make weapons.
Right, and that's what they call...
Real quick, maybe correction, Bruce. I'm not sure if I'm remembering this right. Didn't Yellow Ranger reveal that invaders were created by him and his team? Or something like that?
I think he maybe revealed that the foot soldiers were. I don't remember the specifics of it. He did reveal something like that. Yeah. Well, and I think that feeds into what I'm saying is that I don't. It might. Okay, back it up. The original, we'll call them invaders for now. The original executives invaders. Two possibilities, right? Either they're from space. There's some extra dimensional other thing. They come in and they're related to these dragon-blooded power people. Maybe they're the same, right? Maybe the original dragon-blooded power people are actually the original quote-unquote invaders. Or maybe these dragon people exist. the original sort of 5 Rangers get a hold of them. Yellow Ranger makes the executives and the foot soldiers. He creates them, and maybe he creates them as an idea to create a sort of an entertainment conglomerate thing or a war, right? This could be like a war weapon production. There's some maybe greed behind this. I don't know. This is an interesting chapter to talk about because we've been given a lot of new information in this arc, and we've able to ask a lot of questions. And I think we're finally, after this chapter, I predict that we're going to start getting answers or getting steps towards those answers, because I think that showing what we assume to be Usakubo's mom and dad in this picture, while it is kind of posed as a question in the chapter, I think it also answers a lot of questions, or at least gives us a lot of hints to theorize on what happened. So,
and we can to add to our point of what happened before all of this. It's very clear that there is revisionist history in some way.
Yes,
because the Yellow Squadron girl is being cloned because she's the last dragon-blooded person, and they use that to make the divine weapons. But the thing is, why is she the last one? Because the others were used to make divine weapons. Mm. But if she's being cloned to make all of the current weapons, then her bloodline died out before all this happened, right? And why would there be need for weapons if there weren't invaders before this?
Right.
Kind of a thing. So it's like, clearly, the stuff is being covered up in one way or another. And with the audience, us, we don't know why yet. So I'm kind of curious.
Well, and Negi Haruba, the author, right, I think at his core, Negi is a mystery writer, right? He's most famous for quintessential quintuplets. The core and the most interesting thing about that, even though it is kind of harem genre romance, the real core to that story, once you get into it, is there is a mystery of this guy met one of these 5 girls at some point in the past, and that girl that he met all those years ago, that's the one that he's in love with. Which one is that? That is the mystery behind the core of quintessential quintuplets. And I think that is really what makes Quince such a cool, interesting romance, is that sort of mystery that he unveils. And even though I think the sort of very end of that story had a couple of missteps, I think the general exploration of that mystery and the reveals along the way were really, really well handled. So I think, like I was saying, Negi Haruba, I think, is a mystery writer. I like the way he's revealing these mysteries. I think before we get to the end of this 3-way battle, we're going to get... I want to guess that at the end of the 3-way battle, we get some big reveal that's going to tie a lot of this together, maybe leave us with some more questions, but I think we're going to get a big reveal. That'll happen at the end, and then we will continue on with the story. Kind of, you and I got to have talked about this, but we predict that this is maybe like the halfway, maybe 60% mark of the story, and then we're going to continue and keep going. I don't think this is the end. A lot of people are postulating that. I don't think so.
There's too many unanswered questions that we need to resolve.
Yeah. And this is also really popular, so it's not getting axed. So
to get to the meat of this chapter, though, we're finally getting the third way in the battle. Before it was just invaders versus or executives versus Rangers, and D was just like flopping around a bit. But now we got our 2 best characters in the series easily. Green Hisui and D working together. And then there's a confirmation, of course, that she always knew he was an invader.
She's known, I mean, I think she's known since the dream battle or whatever it was. I think that's when the reveal came through. But yeah, she's known, I think, I've been kind of in denial. But now I like in this part that she is... she's sort of embracing it. She says down here at the bottom, if I came out and said it, I'd have to kill him. So she's just going to kind of like put it, like, be in denial, but she knows that the guy that she's been working with is a foot soldier, and she just says, I'm going to deal with it. I think she realizes that
he's a good dude.
Nothing that he said. He has these flashbacks of him as what's his name, Sakurama, saying all these things about I'm trying to think of, like, yeah, winners can't do anything. Losers are the same as dirt. He has all these feelings that he lets out, even though he's disguised as a human. I think that Hisui knows, like, those were his real feelings. He's not actually acting about a lot of these things. He actually is kind of like the good guy who wants to fight on the side of real justice, his own justice. And she likes that, and that's why Green Battalion is great. Yeah, I think the third side of this battle. It's very interesting that you brought this up. What is the third side of the battle? It's the Rangers on one side and the Invaders.
It's Giga Death Invader and the Execs on the other side. And I think the third side is D, Hisui, and Usubeko. The
Usakubo, yeah.
Usakubo, yeah. Usakubo.
Yeah. And maybe the other girl, maybe Green Ranger. I think...
It seems like Negi split the green team apart and fractured it in a way, quote unquote, that can't be fixed, and is now at the end of the climax of this arc, bringing them all back together for one last job, kind of a situation.
Right. Well, and also in a really smart storytelling choice, he splits them up to tell kind of all the story from a bunch of different angles. Right. I mean, we've been following Hisui and Usakubo and D and the Green Ranger, and they've all been kind of doing their own little things, but that's kind of the four different parts of the story. And now, I think you're right. I think they're going to bring it back together, or at least we know that Usakubo is going to go back to the fight and do something. That was a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, Hisui and D grouping back up. We maybe assume the Rangers are dead or defeated, but they might link back up with Green. Looking forward to it. Another fun thing about this chapter is this White Ranger guy who's just like...
The buff dude. I love how insanely overpowered he is. Yeah. Because he was the character in the parking garage arc that I actually liked.
Yes, yeah.
Because he was a moron who was it didn't make sense how strong he was. He wasn't good at like the laser swords or anything like that, but he had infinite strength. Yeah, and he's just using it super strong.
He's literally just like walking up the side of a tower, like calling himself White Keeper. It's also a funny play, the White Keeper on an idea of like the Sixth Ranger, right? In the original Power Rangers, It was like the Green Ranger who was then the White Ranger. So it's a funny play on that. But
I like that he doesn't even have a divine tool. He's just overpowering everything. This is a good one.
Yeah, good panel, good art. This is like the moment, right? Which is great because this is like a human hugging and accepting an invader, a foot soldier, and saying like, "Come on, we're gonna go fight together." She asks him, I think it's like who do you really hate? Who do you really want to go after? And I love again how much of a shitter Foot Soldier D is because he's like Death Messiah. He's like that dumbass face. He's like, it's like let's do it. We'll call him a discount last boss.
Which is really this is my favorite chapter in a while, and they've all been good, but two best characters, two best characters, hype moment that's been earned. That's awesome, and
I feel like I've been saying for like a year or more now, like I really need to just go back and read Ranger Reject because I think that there's a lot of hints and stuff buried in there, and I think that stuff like the parking garage arc, which we both kind of didn't like while it was happening. I think going through that at a faster pace, it probably works a lot better, and kind of being more familiar with the characters. It'll
be
work
better
a lot
in
better.
Retrospect.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the issue with that arc is it character dumped, and it didn't give us enough on the characters to make us invest in caring about them. But now a lot of those characters have been developed, so I think if we go back, we have that investment. In retrospect,
I think so. So I really need to do a reread of Ranger Reject because it's great. I love this chapter. Anything else you noticed in 114 of Ranger Reject here?
No, I think we covered it. I didn't notice. I didn't think about the title 3-way battle until we started talking about this. But yeah, that's clearly what Negi's going for. It's like this is the third side of the battle.
You could take it a lot of different ways. Yeah. You could take the 3 battle a lot of different ways. I think that the Death Messiah might be not actually on the side of the executives. I think he is. But
I prefer this way because it's like it feels more hype. You know that these guys are like because this is breaking convention. Like they're not acting like rangers and they're not acting like invaders. They're their own third party,
Right.
technically, in this battle. So I prefer to think of it this way because it works so well.
It does.
Even if it wasn't intended. Yeah.
Cool. Let's do a real quick hit on the news. Not a whole lot of news this week, but a couple things I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
Akira creator Katsuhiro Otomo is teasing a new manga work. That's pretty big. Akira is
It's phenomenal.
one of the most influential manga maybe of all time.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely one of them.
Certainly in the anime things, it's yeah. I mean, I would put it top 5 most influential anime properties. You know, after maybe like Astro Boy, Akira is sort of. I mean, Akira was released in what, like 84, I want to say, like way before.
Yeah, and the Akira motorcycle slide is basically as common as the Wilhelm scream at this point.
It is,
right?
yeah, it is, yeah. That's a good comparison. It is literally the Wilhelm scream of animated media. But
even
yeah,
even the new Jordan Peele movie had it at the end of it.
Yeah, the Jordan Peele movie had it. It's in the Spider-Man 2 game, apparently. I saw that, which was not great. Yeah, so I looked up Katsuhiro Otomo because I wasn't sure if he had been sort of doing a lot of stuff since Akira. He's got a couple of other things, every couple of years. Nothing really like long running, I would say. Most of his work was sort of pre-1980s. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if if it's a one shot, if it is a like a serialized thing, if it's a long running thing, if it's a big, small thing. I'm curious. I mean, Akira is one of the greats. I'm excited to see what else this guy has. So yeah, pretty hyped about that.
I wonder if he can make a more badass character than Kaneda, because that is I can't even think of one. It's insane.
Yeah,
how cool that character is.
I need to go and read Akira because I know that the manga is a lot more than the movie. So,
you know what? I read some of it, but I have to go read it too because there are differences. I just don't remember them. I bet it's like a Nausicaa situation.
I think it is because I know there's a lot more with the motorcycle gangs and stuff like that. I have a friend who's read it who's told me about it. But yeah,
I wonder if like Nausicaa, like it is just far better. Or if it's just longer, and
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Let's see. Next up on the news. Hey, it's me, Bruce, the biggest Naoki Urasawa fan that I know. Pluto is now streaming on Netflix. This is not an ad. Go watch it. Everything I've seen about it looks absolutely gorgeous. I think I'm literally going to take my dog for a walk, come back, sit down, and watch as much of Pluto as I can. So
I'll watch it this weekend.
Yeah.
I'll report back.
And the last thing on the news we've got is the Ichinose family's Deadly Sins by Taizan 5 was announced to be reaching its climax next week with Chapter 48 in WSJ 49. That'll be this Sunday. That pretty much signals to me that this is ending. Don't you think?
Yeah, like... I dropped it 5 chapters ago, so I don't even know what the
We dropped it at the same time, because I believe we did an episode over it, and we're like, what the hell? And we both agreed we're dropping this.
I'm confused as to how it will reach a climax when it's been muddling around for 50 chapters, but
I'm also not sure if this could be pressure of the axe. From what I understand, this does not sell well or rank well in the readings, so this certainly could be hey, you're not making it, wrap it up. Or maybe they intended it for it to be this long. I'm not sure. It's very hard to tell because this is a very, I don't even know how to say it, very weird series, I guess you could say.
It is literally Inception if they never stop going into dreams, and never explaining anything. It's like Inception if they didn't spell out what the movie was about, and shit just happened.
If you want to go,
nothing makes sense.
Yeah, nothing makes sense. If you want to go and hear us talk about sort of the last time that we were actually reading this, 26th of August was the episode that we did called "Can Ichinose Please Stop Jumping the Shark? Too Many Twists in This Manga." And my feelings have not changed. I still think that it did too much Definitely not good. I've been checking in a little bit on the Reddit comments and seeing, okay, is everyone freaking out? Is this doing good things? And apparently there's just more dream jumping, more frustrating stuff. Yeah. So I think if it finishes like in 50, 51, 52 chapters, that's only like 10 more chapters for us to read. I might go back and read it, just see like, all right.
Yeah, me too.
Did they do it? It's not that much more of an investment to kind of pick it up, but yeah. So
it is an exercise in frustration. It's it's a carrot and a stick situation, but you never get the carrot ever.
Yeah. Or if you do get the carrot, it was a dream carrot, and then you go, oh, okay, and they go, oh, here's the real carrot, and you go, oh, nice, and you eat it, and then you're like, nope, sorry, that was dream carrot also.
Yeah.
Very frustrating series.
That's exactly what it's an exercise in frustration for sure. You're right.
For sure. But that's it for the news, Gautam. Let's start wrapping this episode up.
All right.
Tell me what you've been doing this week. You watched a good movie.
Yeah, I saw Murder on the Orient Express.
I assume it's the new version. There's like 7 versions of this, but I assume this is the new one, right?
Yes, I saw the new one. Part of me wishes I watched the old one because I had a few issues with how I felt about it versus the book. If you haven't read or seen Orient Express, it is kind of unique. It's a
very unique mystery.
Murder mystery.
Yeah. I saw this for the first time maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I actually had no idea about the end, and experiencing it for the first time was like, wow, that is one of the most different mysteries I had ever seen.
Yeah. The movie did a lot right. I thought the introduction to Poirot is cool. I think it spent too much time with Hercule Poirot and not enough time with the side characters, because the side characters, it all felt like they gave their exposition dump about their situation, and then they moved on to the next one. And then it's like, okay, the first side character is talking again. And I'm like, we just went through 12 of them. What was this guy's thing again?
Yeah, I had the same issue, yeah.
So yeah, small issues here and there. Overall, still a good movie. Still a great book. But I won't say much more on that because I think it's something you should just watch. It's a fun one.
It is. And it's very different from any other mystery you've ever seen. When the podcast ends, we'll talk about the end because I have some issues and concerns about the end of this, but cool. I finished reading Brandon Sanderson's The Sunlit Man. Very good book, very cool book. As someone who is deep into the Cosmere and has been for years, this is one of the coolest sort of Cosmere connected things without it. And I think one of the cool things about Brandon Sanderson's books is they all take place in the same sort of shared universe. They start in kind of fantasy and have been progressing over the years towards sci-fi. This one kind of skips ahead and is mostly sci-fi, but obviously still has those magical elements. So he's sort of a magical sci-fi book.
So do the characters ever meet?
That's kind of the expectation. This character, the main character you see on the cover here, is actually from he's from one of the other books. I'll try not to spoil too much in case people want to read this. He is from one of the other earlier fantasy books, and he exists here in this sci-fi book, which is cool. But he has gotten better at writing these connected worlds and making them make sense and avoiding kind of exposition dumps of this is from this planet and this magic system X, Y, and Z, and you need to know this because why, which was a concern I had with Rhythm of War as a book that came out, this 4 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. I had some issues with kind of how stiff that one was about connecting all these worlds together. And then Trust of the Emerald Sea earlier in the year, I think, was a little bit better about it. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which I think was my One More Thing, I don't know, a month ago, maybe a little less than a month ago. That was also a little better about it. And then this one is like even better about just sort of connecting those worlds together and making it make sense and making it feel more like, instead of a bunch of little connected magic systems and worlds, it's much more like, no, they all exist in the same area. They're all kind of using the same ideas. They're all just slightly different. But this is a really cool book. I really liked it a lot.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
So is it like a wink nod thing? Like it's like someone's like, "Oh wow, it sure is misty today." Wink,
it used to be like that, right? You used to get comments about like one of the first properties in the Cosmere is called White Sand. It's like a comic series. And there's this like magical white sand. And in one of the books, it's like, oh, the main character passed passed into this powerful guy's room, and he had, there was sparkling white sand in his dresser, or, like on top of whatever thing. There's lots of little winks and nods like that in his books. This one is very much more like, yes, a single unit of magic in this world is now called like 1 BEU. I have 10,000 BEUs. That makes me this strong. There is a spaceship there from this planet. These people came from this planet, which you read about in one of the short stories that he wrote. This main character is from one of the other stories. He has these certain sets of powers, which he uses. He meets a group from another. So this is gonna.
Nice.
There's so many characters.
This guy. Really hype.
Yeah, this guy's from the Stormlight Archives. I won't say which character he is. This guy is from the main character here is from the Stormlight Archives. He meets people from the Mistborn world, but this is far future. So this is all kind of the same world, and he just meets people, and it's just like, oh yes, I know who they are. They have these different powers. But it all kind of works on the same base magic system. But yeah, this one handled it really well for me. But I'm also very Cosmere aware. So,
if it's a good universe, then that's just hype. I even like it.
One of the best.
I know I was goofing on the wink nod stuff, but if I'm invested, I even like that.
The Cosmere is one of those things where if you want to look for details and look for foreshadowing and make predictions, this is your jam. It's one of the reasons I really like it. And I'll shout out a podcast that I listen to most weeks, the 17th Shard. I think it's just called the 17th Shard podcast. They are self-proclaimed group of hyper nerds who all they do is podcast, I think every 2 weeks or every week, about Brandon Sanderson's works and the Cosmere. And it's like, there's enough content for them. I mean, this year he released 4 books and did a bunch of question and answers about them and stuff. And so they talk about all those and make predictions. But like every book reveals stuff that lets them postulate and guess and inform about the universe and the other things they know. So very cool podcast that I like listening to.
That sounds fun. It's like us whenever we talk about One Piece.
Yeah, it's very, it is influential for me as a podcaster to listen to them do those types of predictions, because that's what I like to do. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's what we like to. We do that like literally anytime we care about something.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's I think the real infectious part of their podcast, and I hope maybe about ours too, is that you can tell that they really like and care about the Cosmere because they're able to talk for 2.5 hours about one magic system or one little detail reveal in one of the books about, this city is made of dragons. Like, we didn't know that. That's insane. Very
cool. That's cool.
Awesome. Gautam, any other things to say this week?
Nope. I'm all good.
Cool. Let's get out of here. Hey, thank you again, everyone, for listening or watching. Don't forget to leave us some feedback. Give us some comments, which your favorite of the new things. If you're any Brandon Sanderson, hit us up. Give us an upvote, thumbs up, whatever possible positive reinforcement you can leave us. Please go do that. We really need and appreciate that. We really appreciate comments on all the videos we get. Yeah, we like those. We've talked about them in the past. Check out my Twitter and Patreon, linked in the description. Gautam, tell everybody goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for being with us yet again, and don't forget to read more manga.